Hi everyone. This week, as you listen to this story, please focus on the characters' personalities and the similarities and differences between the characters to be able to better answer the questions that appear on the S'more page after you listen to the story. Mr. Dragon. There once was a small village full of animal townspeople. One of the villagers, Mr. Dragon, looked very scary. He was huge. He had sharp white teeth and green, scaly skin. All of his neighbors were scared of him. They didn't invite him to any town meeting or party, and they avoided him at all costs. One day, a new neighbor, Mrs. Rabbit, moved to town. She was friendly and caring. She had small white teeth and white fur all over. She was very small. All of the townspeople were eager to meet her. She enjoyed meeting all of her new neighbors and got along well with everyone. After meeting nearly every villager, she asked the townspeople, "Have I met everyone in the town, or is there someone else for me to meet?" Mr. Owl replied, "Well, there is one more person in town, but you don't have to meet him. He's so scary. He has sharp white teeth and green, scaly skin." Mrs. Rabbit didn't jump to conclusions about Mr. Dragon without meeting him first. She went over to his home in that very moment. She knocked on Mr. Dragon's door. Mr. Dragon cracked the door, peeked his snout out, and asked, "Hello? Who are you?" He was frightened that another neighbor wouldn't like him because of how he looked. "Good afternoon. I'm Mrs. Rabbit. I think I've met every neighbor except for you. It's my pleasure to meet you." "Good afternoon. Are you sure you want to meet me? No neighbor has ever tried talking to me like this." "Well, why not? You seem very friendly to me," replied Mrs. Rabbit. "I am. Please come in and I will make us some tea," said Mr. Dragon. Mrs. Rabbit and Mr. Dragon talked and talked for a long time. Mrs. Rabbit was very disappointed in the townspeople for judging Mr. Dragon wrongly just because he looks different. The next morning, Mrs. Rabbit urged the townspeople to go with her to Mr. Dragon's house. The villagers were terrified. They thought Mr. Dragon would hurt them. Once all of the villagers arrived at Mr. Dragon's front door, he opened the door and shouted, "Good morning, everyone. Could I interest you in some tea?" The villagers weren't sure what to think, but they agreed. The villagers soon realized that Mr. Dragon was possibly the friendliest of all the neighbors. They all apologized to him for judging a book by its cover. Mr. Dragon responded, "It's all water under the bridge. Now we can be friends and spend time together whenever we want."